What's up, everybody? We have 10 minutes here to talk about the topic of packing your backpack. Mark, you brought this one up, and I kind of thought at first, like, man, really? Like, why don't you just chuck everything in there and just head off to the mountains or the woods? But apparently, and you're going to introduce our guest here in a second, according to our guest and some of the stuff that you've learned from him, there is some strategy or some methods to the madness of packing your pack. So why don't you get us going from there, Mark?
Yes, Jim. Not that simple. A little bit more than meets the eye, perhaps. Now, I'm familiar with loading a backpack and definitely know a few tricks of the trade, but it really wasn't that long ago on a hunt with our guest, Joey Pyburn from Outdoor Line Radio. We were chasing bears in the backcountry, and I was actually suffering from a case of sloppy backpack. And it's embarrassing to say, but it did happen. And here we are. And so, again, that's why we're talking about it. We talk about these things. We're open about them. And that can hopefully help other people with our experiences here. So, Joey, how's it going? You're in camo. It looks like you were doing something this morning.
Yes. Yeah. I snuck out to the duck blind this morning with Spencer and Zach from Off Grid. And we hammered some ducks and then quickly ran out of the field and got back here so we could jump on with you guys.
Awesome, man.
Right on.
Appreciate it. So it wasn't that long ago either that you and Rob Inslee, also from Outdoor Line Radio out of the great city of Seattle, you guys knocked down a couple bucks in the backcountry. So you have some recent experience packing bucks out, and I think you guys got another one in Idaho the other day and packed that one out a considerable distance. But so let's talk about this. Let's talk about, I guess picture going in, you're going on a multi-day hunt, nothing like super crazy extreme, 2 days, maybe to 5 days. So you've got, all the gear that you're going to need for a few overnights. You've got some food, but let's talk about packing your backpack on the way in, but then also on the way out when you've hopefully found some success and are coming out heavy. So let's maybe...
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, we're not necessarily talking about lightweight hunting, find all the lightest weight gear or whatever.
No.
This is actually physically the order of operations you pack it in, how you pack it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, nowadays we have these amazing backpacks, right? The technology has grown so much over the past probably 15 years. When I first started backcountry hunting, we had, external metal frame packs, which was basically an uncomfortable metal frame with a bag attached to it. And you just kind of shoved everything in there. And we just we got used to being uncomfortable for the most part. Nowadays, we have these amazing backpacks, and they're designed to make it more comfortable for us to get into the woods and get out of the woods with weight on our back. And, I've been... So I do the EXO Death Hike with Steve Speck and the EXO guys. And so I've learned a lot over the past few years on how to load your backpack correctly. So when we were on that hunt, Mark, it was actually Spencer who noticed you had a very, you weren't using your straps, your buckles, your load was riding very low in the bag. And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes guys make is you want that load, the weight of the pack to be kind of centered on your back, right? And then sucked down very tight so it's not rocking back and forth. So when I go into, if I'm going to go into the backcountry for 3 to 5 days, say, I'm going to put my fluffiest stuff in the bottom and I'm going to cinch that down as tight as I can, kind of above my hips. Anything heavy like water, or my food typically is the heaviest thing I have going into the woods. That is going to go above the fluff. And then you usually end up with more fluff above that, right? But keeping that weight kind of centered in the middle of your back. And then again, now if you kill in the woods, a lot of the packs nowadays are made to have a meat shelf. So you can easily detach the bag from the frame. And you can go online. I mean, a lot of guys are probably saying, yeah, I know all this stuff. But look, I see plenty of guys in the backcountry with a sloppy pack like Mark had. In fact, on this last hunt in Washington here with Rob, we're coming out heavy and he got in front of me and I was like, holy cow, he's not using his straps. The meat is down in the bottom. So I stopped him. We readjusted, moved that meat to the middle of the pack, sucked the bottom down as tight as we could. So the meat as you're hiking, gravity will slowly, kind of force that weight to the bottom. Well, you can suck your straps down to where it can't get down there.
Yep.
So we readjust everything, put it on his back, and Rob's like, oh my gosh. It's like, this is amazing. He's like, I mean, it still sucks, but it sucks way less. And I think you had kind of the same experience, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I think, that was like my biggest takeaway there, because, we were going in, and then, hopefully we didn't ultimately kill a bear. We saw a couple, but, hoping to bring something out, right? And so my pack actually doesn't have a meat shelf, so it's got a pretty big bag on it. So it's made to, if I need to take something out, I'll actually put it just in the pack, right? Like I'll use game bags and then maybe a trash bag around it to keep, blood off all my stuff.
Sure.
But so it's a pretty big bag, right? And all of my gear, even though I had packed it probably correctly, order of operations wise, like fluffiest stuff at the bottom, all that gravity, I had my straps were loose at the bottom, and so gravity over time, probably everything was just sagging way low. When I was walking, it was just like I was getting a lot of strain, just like in my glutes and stuff like that, and what you just said was, like I said, was my biggest takeaway, was essentially using my straps to block that part of my pack off. Didn't need it. And then, essentially, compress the bag so stuff couldn't slide down. And then all of my gear kind of sat on top of that, and it was more squared up in the middle of my back, cinched it down tight, so it was keeping it close to my back as well, nothing shifting. And, it was just a world of difference. It made the way my body was working, the amount of, I guess, strain or effort to walk, or the way that load was affecting my muscles. Like, it was just like night and day difference.
Yeah, I'd love to hear like a PT explain what's going on there, but it just sort of makes sense, because usually you don't like to put a lot of stress in a place where there's a lot of joints. And if you think about weight getting down low, you've got your hips going into your pelvis, and you got a spine going in there. There's just all kinds of things all joining up together, and usually joints are where you have a weaker area. Whereas if it goes up a little higher, then you're using it's more of that weight is being controlled and lifted by your core, which
it
is
just
so much
right
more
here,
stable.
And
Sorry,
like, it
Joey,
was basically almost like having an anchor, like was just pulling me back the whole time,
And then it's pulling on your shoulders, which is not what you want. You want that weight to kind of ride. When I put my backpack on, loaded correctly with meat, sometimes it's 100 pounds. I'll get into my backpack and I'll kind of rock forward and almost like push that pack up. And when I buckle my hip belt, I'm cranking that thing down as tight as I can so that it can't end up like down pushing on my butt. It's up above on my hips. And then you kind of work from the bottom up, right? Get that tight, then stand up, then reef down on those shoulder straps, and then buckle your strap that connects your two shoulder straps and tighten that down. And I always find with a heavy pack, the tighter I can make things, obviously it's very uncomfortable for the first hour, but eventually it just kind of, your body gets used to it, and it's just a more comfortable way to ride the weight out of the mountains.
Yeah. Once you get used to the pain, Jim, it goes away.
Yeah. The order of operations too. I mean, if you're going by conventional grocery bag packing wisdom, it's incorrect, because that's kind of what I've done it for. Because it's like, you put the big, bulky, heavy, hard stuff at the bottom, and then you kind of put the lighter, more potentially, I don't know, like breakable or more just I always see lighter, fluffier stuff like you mentioned as being more fragile perhaps or something. So I'm thinking, if it's on the bottom, then it has the chance to get messed up somehow. And that literally is grocery bag wisdom. Like, and so, but that's not, hearing you say, like, when you say put the fluff at the bottom, that's sort of like, oh, all right. I wouldn't ordinarily think of doing that.
Well, if you think about where, so like most all these backpacks nowadays have a kind of a place for you to put your water bladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's never in the bottom. It's in the very top of your backpack, and it goes down to about the middle of your back.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like on this last hunt in Idaho, there was no water at 8,500 feet. It was very dry. It was warm. Rob and I had to hike all our water in. We had 6 liters of water each.
Man.
And you gotta place that stuff in the right spot. Otherwise, it ends up at the bottom of your pack. Same thing, and it's just not comfortable.
Now, do you also tend to put heavier stuff towards the side of the backpack? I'm assuming that is pressed right up against your back. I mean, like if you have like lighter, bulkier items, they go towards the outside of the pack, you know? And
yes,
then,
exactly.
yeah.
It keeps you balanced, right? You want that weight as close to your core as you can. If it gets too far back away from your body, it's going to start to pull on you, right? It's going to pull on your shoulders. Yeah, that's why like the XO 6400 that I run, most of the time I run, just like Mark said, game bags. I'll drop a big, once the meat's hung and cooled down, I'll drop a big contractor bag in, dump the meat in there, lay the pack down flat, and then place that meat where I want it in the center of the bag, and then start pulling those compression straps down and get it as tight as I can to the frame. But you can also, with that pack, you can detach the bag from the frame, place the meat directly on the back of the frame. There's 2 big compression straps that you can basically cross, and you can suck that down so tight and it's not going to go anywhere. Then you can actually put your bag back on over the top of your frame and put all your fluffy stuff in there. Like you know, then you can pack out meat and your camp at the same time.
When you're using the and maybe describe this, but I'm just trying to visualize it since we don't have one here. But when you're using the meat shelf or whatever, you've detached the bag and you've put the meat then up against the frame, and the bag's going to kind of fold back over it. And are you relying on just the sheer compression force to keep that meat from sliding down, or is there other tricks that you do to keep the meat from just all, you know, eventually just shooting down towards the bottom and trying to jump out the bottom of your pack? Because that is brutal. When you get to that point where like you spend all the time putting it in your backpack and you finally got it all together, you throw it on your back and you've gone like a mile and it's sagging way down. You're like, I don't want to take it off and do the whole thing again. Like I'll just gut it out and just, that's where I get to.
Well, the nice thing now is these packs are designed specifically for the job of packing meat out of the mountains. The straps that are built in there over the years, you know, Steve Speck at XO and Mark and the guys have tested these things over and over and over and over again. So I don't really ever have any problem with the meat slipping down.
I'm probably just
when you cross those straps, when you cross those straps and you know, I try to break it. I'm pulling so hard. I feel like I could break it, but it's not coming off of there. And it doesn't slip.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, whether you're packing meat or even just, you know, your load as you're going in or you're hunting, you know, all those straps, they are there for a reason. Probably go to your manufacturer's website and you know, take a look at that. And like you said, and was part of my problem. I wasn't being as aggressive with those straps as I should have been. I mean, use those straps, suck that load down as tight as you can, and it's just going to carry better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yep.
I know when
we're all sissies nowadays. Look, what we have now for gear in the backcountry has made it so much easier for guys like us to go into the mountains and stay there for many days at a time, right? The backpacks are amazing. The gear is amazing. And that all leads to us being able to stay in the woods, hunt longer, be more successful.
Well, there you have it, folks. Make sure you're packing your pack correctly. Also, make sure you remember where all the straps and the buckles go. That I need a diagram sometimes because I seem to have maybe cross-wired a few straps. But definitely do that. And if you have any other questions on that sort of thing, you should definitely hit up your pack's manufacturer. But Joey, where do people find you? You on Instagram too? We got to ask that question.
Yeah, at Joey Pyburn on Instagram. And you can check out the Outdoor Line Radio Show on iTunes or on our website, outdoorlineradioshow.com. That's about it.
No, I mean, tons of great Northwest fishing, hunting information. It's a good show. Moves quick. It's awesome. It's a quick hitter.
We like those here.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.